like, I don't know what I'm doing.
That sounds like a terrible state to be in. And I'm assuming that's when you might just turn to Animal Crossing, because you know what? No one's sick there. There's no COVID.
Exactly. Everyone's fine in Animal Crossing. Everyone's just vibing, having a good time, and that's where I want to be.
Who cares if I owe Tom Nook 43 million bells? That's okay.
Yeah, like, what's he gonna do about it? He can't do anything.
Hey, I'm Brad. Where are you calling from?
Worcester, Massachusetts.
I'm calling in from Los Angeles, California.
Not Chicago, but near Chicago-ish.
And wherever you are, welcome to Blond Radio. Hi, I'm Brad. I live on the west coast of Canada, I miss hugging my friends, and I've recently discovered a new love for tofu. And welcome to Blond Radio, where each day I book a call with a different stranger from around the world. And usually, I highlight conversations from the week on each episode. But today's going to be a little different. I'm recording this on June 5th, 2020, and it has been 11 days since the murder of George Floyd, a black man from Minneapolis, Minnesota. On May 25th, officers responded to a call regarding a counterfeit $20 bill, and after a brief altercation with Floyd, restrained him face down on the concrete. A knee was placed on his neck for over 8 minutes, during which witnesses watched as he pled for his life, unable to breathe. Floyd became unresponsive and was later pronounced dead an hour later at the Hennepin County Medical Center. The following day saw protests for justice in the Twin Cities, and every day since has seen protests in every state and even around the world. From the beginning of the protests to June 3rd, at least 11,000 people have been arrested, including all 4 police officers responsible for the arrest resulting in the death of George Floyd. But these protests have dug deeper, challenging the history of police brutality in the United States and the injustices still faced by people of color every day. These past 2 weeks have been a time for listening, learning, and action towards change. This week at Blond Radio on Instagram, I gave you guys a prompt. What is change to you? Here's what you had to say.
Hi, Shada again, calling from Alberta, Canada. To me, change looks like those who are usually in power, the majority, and those who are usually heard, using their privilege and their power to listen to the voices of the minority and to acknowledge and respect the feelings of those in order to overcome any conflicts that may arise.
Hi, my name's Caleb. I'm calling from San Francisco, California, and what change looks like to me is when other people become uncomfortable because the actions one person or a group of people are doing is disrupting the status quo in a positive way.
I'm Eren. I'm calling from Istanbul, Turkey. Change for me is adding new dimensions to my perspective on life. It is a fundamental law of nature, and I believe instead of fearing change, we should look at it as something positive.
Hi, my name is Emma, and I'm from Finland. Change to me is people in power recognizing and using their privilege for good and helping a group that's been neglected or ignored.
Thank you to everyone who called in. Today we'll only feature one conversation. Usually, I'll edit 3 or 4 calls to highlight a range of perspectives. But my call with Brian this week flowed much better in its entirety, and I feel it carries its message stronger when left whole. Also, to break another Blond Radio staple, Brian isn't a stranger. I've known him since 2005, and he's been a pillar in my life ever since. We spent those years in youth groups, at sleepovers, around dinner tables, and often watching movies. The biggest challenge in our friendship is deciding what movie to watch next that neither one of us has already seen. And the biggest joy, at least on my side, was having the honor of being his best man last August and watching him marry the love of his life, Emma. And so, when I asked, Brian was gracious enough to be on this week's episode of Blond Radio to provide his perspective as Brian, but also as a person of color, on the issues at hand in the United States and around the world. I claim no expertship on this subject, but I hope our conversation probes new ideas or angles to consider moving forward. Also for context, we name drop the term Seventh-day Adventist throughout, which is the name of the church denomination we both grew up in and met through. It's a fairly conservative offshoot of traditional Protestant churches. Although I don't identify with the church or their beliefs, I am grateful for a handful of principles and the community that helped to raise me. Here's Brian and I's conversation.
Beautiful. Hey, guys, you're listening to Blond Radio. Everybody out there.
all 12 of you. And this is actually, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Sure. Well, I'm Ryan, longtime friend of Brad's. How long have we known each other? Since we were...
I mean,
No, because you lived on the mainland.
I did. And
It was before... It must have been 8 or 9, right?
at least third grade, I think. So however old you are then.
You start first grade when you're like 6, no?
Sure. That sounds not wrong.
Let's say a soft 8 years old. Believe me, I was a soft 8 years old.
I am 8 years old and 9 years told, to be sure.
That's right. And actually, starting now, a few years cold. Yeah.
It's been, 4 months of quarantine, and I haven't felt anyone.
Yeah. God, this quarantine. Who would have guessed a year ago? If you had told me a year ago that the world would be in the midst of the biggest protests ever, that humanity was on the brink of being wiped out by a pandemic, and most of all, that I would have this pretty sweet new haircut I've discovered, I wouldn't have believed you.
The haircut, least of all.
Least of all. That's the most incredible thing about it all.
Well, damn. I think why don't we start? Why don't you give the backstory, the lore on Brian? Walk me through
the lore. Well, ethnically, I am Dominican. So my parents are from there.
Mm-hmm.
They are high school sweethearts. They've been dating since I think they were like 16 or something. But yeah, they got together. They moved to Toronto. T. Dot, the 6, had me, my 2 younger brothers. And then when I was 6 and the youngest one was, I think not even 1 yet, he was probably like 10 months old, we moved to Victoria, BC here. So growing up, we were all Seventh-day Adventists, and so were you, Brad. And that's sort of how we met. Not through church, but through church-associated activities, let's say.
Yeah.
Basically scouts.
Mm-hmm.
Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. And believe me, that was a bad decision.
Co-ed.
You don't want a bunch of pent-up Christian boys making knots and building fires and stuff with girls.
And telling them, oh, I'll keep you in my prayers.
I'll keep you in my prayers, a.k.a. I'll be thinking about you tonight, girl. Don't worry about it.
Very good. And who are you today? What brought you to Brian circa 2020?
The Brian 2020 update?
Yeah.
I am a married man,
mm-hmm.
to a beautiful, beautiful wife. I've got CERB in the bank account, so no worries. Prospects for life, pretty nice. I think I'm gonna live through this whole thing.
Sure.
Tell my kids about it. I'm feeling good, man. You know, all this uncertainty and turmoil has been tough, but I've got a good support system. Like I said, my wife. I'm here at home with my parents and my brothers and you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling pretty optimistic about the whole thing.
That's so sick.
A man of color and a man of honor, to be sure.
Hand in hand. That's what you need. And I guess I'll give a little quick back on, how I met you.
Sure.
Let
the people know.
As you were saying, grew up on the mainland. You've been to that town where I grew up, Hope.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely known. And I learned this more as soon as I moved out of Hope, but it's definitely a drive-through town. You do not stick around in Hope.
I mean, it's literally the last bastion of civilization before you head out east towards the Albertas and the Saskatchewans of the world.
Exactly. One thing, and in Victoria, but especially in Hope, was not a lot of racial diversity.
Definitely. I mean, not even in Victoria, it's very white.
Yes. And so growing up, and I can't say this for a fact because it was over 15 years ago now, and I was a child, but I'm not sure I saw a person of color literally until I moved to Victoria. Sure, in movies and shows and stuff. And I think I had some vague awareness of there was some tension for whatever reason. So I think meeting you, honestly, if I'm going to be honest with myself in retrospect,
you're first.
I was probably anxious and uncertain and just not knowing how to engage because of these sort of invisible sort of social systemic barriers between us.
Yeah. I mean, I never felt that way, but I could definitely see why you would.
Totally. And I don't think, we both grew up in a church where the Seventh-day Adventist Church, to an extent, its MO is, it's us against them.
That's interesting about them. Yeah, they not only see like the entire secular world as the enemy, but I mean, truly, they think that they're the only ones right, and that every other denomination of Christianity is like wrong.
Which is
so even talking about like Baptists or Catholics or whatever, they're basically as bad or if not worse than how they see the secular world, as it were.
Totally.
Yeah, it really makes you grow up with this, like you said, this divide, this feeling of like us versus the other.
And then I'm confronted with like I don't know if this is correct, but like the ultimate other, like someone who's not white, and I'm just like wasn't equipped to
like, hey, what's that stuff all over you, bud? Why are you so you like been rolling around in chocolate or something?
Come on, man. I guess maybe saying equipped isn't the right word. It's maybe I was like de-equipped to like treat you as a person instead of another. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, I think it makes sense. I mean, I'm sure it did help that I was at least like I'm in the same circle, even by like Adventist standards. Like I should be all good. There should be no reason to,
Totally.
So you had that going for you. And like it would have been something different if I was black and Muslim. Then you're like, oh no.
You pulled the trap card on me. But
yeah. No, but no, I totally feel what you're saying.
Damn. But then and then literally I think just like through should we just call it Pathfinders?
Guys, it's the International Pathfinder Organization. It's a co-ed boys and girls scout type organization. You learn knots, you do camping trips and stuff, but you also learn about God, right? It's all part of their indoctrination. I don't want to get into it, but yeah. No, it was fun times, honestly. I look back fondly on those years.
Totally. I think like the good moments definitely outweigh the more negative, questionable ones.
Oh, and I didn't mention this, but I was homeschooled. So really between church and Pathfinders, like that's where I got the core of my friends.
Especially, I don't want to say the word sheltered, but did you feel like your choices were slim?
Well, you're talking to a guy who didn't listen to secular music at all until like 2008, I want to say, or 2009.
Could we, do most people know what secular means?
So I think they do, but if not, secular basically in this context is just anything that's non-Christian, anything that's quote unquote of the world. So growing up, listening to the popular artists, basically anything on the radio, movies, TV shows, all that is secular.
Yeah.
My cousins basically introduced me to secular music, and I was like, oh, this is pretty funky stuff. Oh, yeah. My God, it's got an actual beat to it. What's that about? We were young men discovering the world for the first time, really.
Damn. And do you feel like being in Victoria, like you spoke as like not only being in the church, but you're also homeschooled, but then also you're in Victoria. I could pull up the percents here, but I think it's like under 10% is a racial minority. What was that like?
It's definitely the majority of the city is white. And I would say if there was a second place, it would be Asians. I think mostly Chinese, a lot of Filipinos on the West Coast here. And I do have a lot of good Filipino friends, actually.
Oh.
But funny enough, I have way more Asian Filipino friends than I have black friends. I have barely any black friends.
Right. Which is...
And that just comes with being from here.
Yeah. So do you feel sometimes like an island unto yourself?
I do feel like I had to sort of learn what it was to be black from like the media and stuff.
And that's like something I feel like is known for you, is just I think people know you as someone who has their finger on the pulse on pop culture and not even just like current stuff, but like you're well versed in like I'd say everything from like mid 70s upwards.
Really? You think so? It's good to hear.
To
be sure.
You'll pull a deep reference that a lot of us will go, sorry, what? And you're like, come on, you've seen blank.
You've seen that one episode of Seinfeld from 40 years ago, haven't you? I mean, I don't know what contributes to that, but I never felt like that was a knock against Victoria. I still love Victoria.
Yeah.
And I don't think I don't think I've faced any like actual racial tension here. Like everybody's very chill. It's a beautiful town. I enjoy it a lot.
Yeah, Victoria, for its maybe what it lacks in variety, I think it maybe makes up for in pleasantry. There's malintention everywhere you go, but I feel like here it's pretty minimum. I don't know.
Minimum. Yeah. Yeah. I think I don't know what that is about Victoria. They don't really care what your deal is. They don't care where you're from. Everybody's. I think it's such a beautiful, welcoming town that everybody, and Tourism Victoria put money in my pocket for this, but I think everybody just kind of, it's too happy and too friendly a place to really bring it to that place. Like it's nobody's thinking like, whoa, a black guy. Although funny enough, I don't know if it's part of the stuff I learned from like media and stuff, or if it's just something that I always felt like I had to do. But I still had the classic, black isms, as it were, of, making sure my hands were out of my pockets when I was going inside stores, and like going out of my way to like smile and look friendly to especially like older white people.
Damn. God, now that you say that, the amount of times I think I've seen you in public just randomly smiling at people. I always read that as, yeah, Brian's a sick, just like friendly guy, but I've never heard that side of the...
I am.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that probably that started at an early age, just trying to make sure people saw me as, someone friendly, someone to be trusted.
So what does that look like in your shoes as like, we're in 2020, we're in May, we're in June. I'm not saying there's not systemic problems here in Canada, but I feel like maybe less or so, and maybe, yeah, just seeing this eruption, and it's global. The people in New Zealand are talking about it. There's protests and demonstrations in France, in London.
My wife is from Finland, and they've got stuff going on in Finland even. So
that's and Finland's
and
so white.
We saw so white, so white. They do have like a weirdly high population of North African refugees, though.
Oh, interesting.
Well, I mean, Finland ranks on top of a lot of world scales when it comes to like education, healthcare stuff. So maybe they just look at that and they're like, "That's where I want to go." It's pretty sweet.
Hell yeah.
But even the fucking Amish were protesting, and if the Amish are protesting, you really fucked up.
You done it bad.
And some horse-drawn buggy brought them the news, and they were like, let's make little wooden signs and stand outside our ranch or whatever. Because then you're on the wrong side of history, bud.
Sure, like we jest, but for real, who told them?
Who told them? A pigeon with a note attached to its ankle.
But like, how do you look at that? How do you engage with that? What are you thinking about?
I think where this really started for everybody was the George Floyd video. Mm-hmm. And honestly, like that video is undeniable. Like you watch it, and like watching it, I was like getting hot. My hands were shaking. I was looking at it. I was like, this is incredible. Like I can't believe that this is such a blatant and obvious show of like, at the very least, like deadly negligence on the police's side. Mm-hmm. Like the man is literally begging for his life. Mm-hmm. And I think even you mentioned that if you had been in the crowd, like if you had been one of the people who were filming, I mean, the thought would have crossed your mind, like, do I tackle the cop off this guy? Like he's clearly
exactly
at that point. It's like human right. Like you're like this. You're watching a man die, regardless of whether it's a police officer, whoever is doing it. Like your heart wants to like stop it. Like it senses it's wrong.
And there was a camera, like.
And I mean, not to get like too deep on this specific case. Mm-hmm. But I mean, if you look at the police report, what the original police report was from that incident versus the video, like originally in the police report, all they said was, that there had been a death on site, or that like they had to call an ambulance, but that no shots were fired. There was no, there's no tussle, there's no fight. So reading that, you assume that like nothing had happened and that the guy had just gone into some sort of shock or something, Mm-hmm. And then the video comes out and you're like, oh, okay. So they phrased it like that to protect the officer who murdered him.
Right. And it's like, if this had not been recorded, if there had not been witnesses, what would have happened? And then it like what makes,
and how many more
exactly
are happening and have happened that didn't have a camera there a foot away recording it. And the craziest part is that even with the camera there a foot away recording a man being murdered, the cops weren't arrested right away, and there's still, I mean, it's, the protests and everything are because of this happening all the time. I mean, I've seen a lot of people online, older people who were like, this isn't going to change anything. We had Rodney King videos. We had a video of like a gang of police beating a man up for no reason, a black man, and nothing happened then and nothing's going to happen now. And that's such a pessimistic view. But at the same time, how can I argue with that? I mean, I really hope that this is the one that has the potential to change things and, really make some long lasting change. But at the same time, there's been so many beforehand that we thought the same thing, and, nothing changed and everything stayed the same.
So how do you stay optimistic?
I mean, I love that. I mean, a lot of my friends, really the whole world is speaking out. I don't think I've seen as much engagement as this ever before. So that's it's good to see. I'm really proud of I mean, everyone really, but I guess specifically the friends of mine who I've seen really being vocal on social media, donating to different organizations, and you're trying to spread awareness and everything. And you love to see it. You love to see it. But whether or not anything will really change remains to be seen, and it's disheartening.
Yeah, it starts disheartening, and then just like it's just like flat out heartbreaking. It's to see this huge separation there is between the people's voice and the power of the people, like the elected power.
Like you're working for the people, exactly. Like I think a lot of people, and it's political. People are always drawing the line between Republicans and Democrats, and like a lot of people forget that they're supposed to be fighting each other for how best to serve us.
Yeah,
like that's their main purpose.
I didn't even think of that. That's
Yeah, it's gross. Just watching the cops like beat people up, like reporters, clearly people who are there just to get eyes on it and to observe, and they're hitting them with shields, hitting them with batons.
God, just too much crossfire and too much miscommunication and just pain, and then all these like groups that are taking advantage of it for personal gain, or like what's your stance on like the looting and stuff?
I mean, obviously, it's a tough issue because obviously, like looking at it, that's not good for the community. That's not good for local businesses. A lot of those businesses are Black owned as well.
Yeah.
Like you're hurting your own, and you're also perpetuating the narrative that you're just a bunch of like aggressive, destructive protesters who are just in it to loot a bit and be loud and get the energy out and then go back to what you're doing. But at the same time, I mean, yes, you can look at it from like look at all this damage they're causing. But the two things that I take away from it are, one, you have to remember that like no matter what happens, that there are people out there trying to make it look that way. Yeah. It's not going to let people pushing that narrative. But the second thing is like the reason these riots are happening is because there's like this insane amount of injustice. And like if that's how they get your attention and put light on it, maybe 20, 30, 50 years from now, we'll say, yeah, they destroyed those towns. But because of it, like they brought this attention to it and they passed new laws, they did something, and now things are better, I mean, the people doing this are doing it because they're frustrated and they don't know what else to do. They don't know how else to get people's attention, because it seems like no matter what they do, nothing changes. Yeah, I would say that just obviously net negative for the actual communities involved in the short term. Sure. But if it's getting eyes on it, it's getting the word out, and it's just showing how frustrated and how desperate they are for change, how can I argue with that?
To draw a comparison, I don't know all the details of the Boston Tea Party, but I'm sure there's
we were looking for. I mean, and let's not forget that these protests, like the same people that are saying they should be protesting peacefully or not protesting at all, were also outside 3-4 weeks ago protesting because they hadn't gotten a haircut or Starbucks in a while. So,
Amen.
I'm not going to take their word too seriously.
Yeah, it's always going to be the loudest on both sides that are going to be heard. But
yeah, I mean, I'm always struggling to remember that like most of what you hear online and stuff that's divisive and one side or the other is the very vocal minority on either end. And there's a lot of people in the middle who are a lot more reasonable and a lot more level-headed about everything. So
it's in times like these, I've said it before and I'll say it again, but Star Wars really comes in clutch with the only the Sith deal in absolutes.
In absolutes, which is itself an absolute, Obi-Wan. So you watch yourself, bud.
Hypocrite. But there needs to be a conversation. It can't just be my way or the highway.
I know, and I think the only way to really make everyone, I mean, I don't know if everyone could be happy, but our best chance of getting something going is if people are willing to sit down and compromise a little bit, I mean, if you can give a little, take a little, I think there is a middle ground that everyone would be a lot more comfortable at. That's speaking politically, of course. When it comes to Black rights, I don't think there's a middle ground.
Amen. Because it's, people are gonna, compromising smaller steps generally is more effective instead of trying to jump all the way to the end goal. It's the frog in the boiling water thing. Yeah,
people want to go straight to boiling temp, but I think the way there is just to go little by little, let everybody sort of settle into it. Nobody wants to swing full conservative or full liberal, but there's a middle ground. I think there's somewhere in the middle where we can all be, if not completely satisfied, at least comfortable and in a place where we can sort of sit back and assess things and tweak things a little bit.
Yeah, I like that.
Because the way things are now, they're kind of crumbling.
It's kind of all falling apart a little bit, but
humanity in general.
It's on the other side. I do understand some to an extent. I'm not like vindicating or saying I agree with a lot of the radicalism, but I could see how people felt like we've been trying to make these small steps for years and we're like at the boiling point. So
I mean, I saw a pretty powerful video this week where this older black gentleman, what he was saying was just like, everybody's always arguing that we need time. We need time to get the progressive change to happen. And he's like, well, how much time? Because we've been waiting 400 years of slavery time. And then like my great grandfather's whole life, my grandfather's life, my father's life, my whole life, my kid's life. Like at some point, something has to happen. And I would say, yeah, there are places that have made strides. There's definitely, I think right now in history, black people have the most opportunity and the most freedom and the most equality that they've had so far, but that's not to say that they're all the way there yet or that it's time to stop fighting.
Mm-hmm. If you could give one small piece of advice, how could people be more informed or take proactive steps towards change?
Well, like I said, that's one of the things that I've been so proud of these last few days is that I think now more than ever, it's really easy to go out and see some resources, find some places where you can either donate or just inform yourself. A lot of people have stuff on their story, stuff on their social media in general that's sharing a bunch of stuff I think there's been a video going around that's been explaining systemic racism, mm-hmm. which is really good. Maybe I'll have to find it and put it on my story actually as well. But yeah, I think making the effort to go out and be informed on these things, because, I know a lot of people, if you just tell them like, yeah, black people are oppressed, if they haven't been paying too much attention or if they live in an area where like, yeah, even in Victoria, like if you were to tell a Victoria person, me personally, like, I don't think I've personally faced even a fraction of like the marginalization or the persecution that some of the other colored folk down south have been facing. Mm-hmm. That's not to say that it doesn't exist. And it's not to say that even in Victoria, it doesn't exist. I've definitely even here had people, they don't say anything. They don't even necessarily look at you wrong, but you get this energy off them that that they see you as lesser than. Mm-hmm. So it exists everywhere, and I think just being aware of that and sort of educating yourself on like the different ways, the different methods that the government and society in general has kept the dark population oppressed is important. Mm-hmm. And specifically with these protests, I mean, yeah, donating to get people bailed out. I don't think anybody should be put in jail for, a peaceful protest. God. And I don't think, people should be treated the way that some people, like I said yesterday, the DC protesters were mm-hmm. very peacefully marching outside of the White House. And, cops rolled through and was beating people, throwing, they claimed they didn't throw any tear gas, but people there were like, something was burning my eyes. Something was going on. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's educating yourself, keeping in mind that even if we come out of this with, somewhat of a win, like the fight isn't over until, I think my ultimate goal would be to make it so that we're all just humans, like mm-hmm. doesn't matter what you look like. If everybody, if my son doesn't even have a notion in his head, and I don't have a son yet for your listeners, but someday when I have a child, I would love for them to not even have a thought of like, oh, I look different. I wonder if people are going to treat me different. I want them to just be like, people used to care. That's weird.
Yeah, I feel like the world is on a ticking time bomb to destruction, and we're all gonna die soon. But if before that happens, if people could wake the fuck up and just like realize basic human rights, that'd be pretty sweet ass.
That'd be pretty nice. I honestly had the thought the other day, like I said, grew up Seventh-day Adventist Christian. Yep. Your parents are the same. Like I had this thought of like, oh shit, like plagues, wars, destruction, death everywhere. Maybe these are the end times. Maybe my parents are right, and I should really prepare myself for the second coming of our Lord and Savior.
Maybe just gloss through the Bible or something, just to cover our
bases. Open it up to see what's just in case.
Sure, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I think just putting as much love and understanding into the world as you can is basically all that's gonna help out in these coming times.
Mm-hmm. And for whatever, however detached we are from the church and religion, I think that fundamental principle is nice to keep in the back pocket and maybe at the forefront of our minds in these trying times.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are like anti-religion, but I think that's more the organization, the people involved, like the actual people in the community that I grew up with. I love, and they taught me a lot, and I wouldn't give those years back, I don't think.
No, yeah.
And regardless of how I feel about religion now, I mean, that's kind of an offside, but sure. Throw that in there.
Sure.
Guys, we're pro-religion. This is a pro-religion podcast.
The algorithm's going to put us right beside all the...
Oh, God.
Beautiful. But thank you again. Thank you for taking time out of your day and being really open and honest and just and vulnerable.
Of course. And I'm always, it's always a delight to talk to you, Brad. So I am always just left feeling happy and so glad that I have this wonderful friend in my life after we talk.
God, gonna make me cry.
Please do. Send me the tears.
Lovely. Well, that's about it. But I'll be on Warzone tonight. I don't know if.
Well, yeah, we'll play some BR. We'll play some Plunder. We'll play some multiplayer. We'll be out there.
Beauty.
Guys, feel free to join the official Blond Radio Warzone League. Make sure you get a chance to get sniped in the head by Brad.
And I do, after each person, I do DM them and ask them how they're doing. I make sure they're doing all right.
That's actually the secret way to get interviewed, guys. Get sniped and then get hyped because he's calling you. So.
Special thanks to Brian for making this episode possible, as well as everyone who submitted a response to the prompt. Intro music provided by Wayfie, that's Wayfie, and accompanying tracks by Loboil, that's Loboil, who can both be found on all major streaming platforms. You can find resources on where to help or donate to the fight for justice at Blond Radio on Instagram. See you soon, stay safe, and thanks for tuning in to Blond Radio.